It's 4 o'clock Arizona time, and it is Thursday, which means that it's almost Friday. So my voice is finally almost all the way back. I no longer sound like a lounge singer, and I'm excited to be here. And yeah, it just took forever for my voice to come back. I think it was honestly, we're going to move this guy over a little bit. Excuse me while I adjust while I'm live, so you don't have to look at my big old head. So today I want to come out and talk about a couple things. Most importantly, I want to address the price increase. You guys heard me talk about it yesterday, and I think it's important as we get closer to fourth quarter and closer to the election that you guys are all on the same page, that it's super important that if you have not given a price increase that you do so as soon as possible. As I mentioned in my video the other day, I got like a glare on my glasses. Let me see if I can step back. Maybe it's just going to be the square. Okay, maybe right here, right? I'll just squat down. So, and the reason for the price increase is because we have an inflation rate of nearly 30%. Is the closest estimation I can explain. And I'm not a financial expert, nor am I a financial advisor. I'm just looking at the patterns and what I'm listening to and what I'm seeing, and I don't think that the number that they're giving us is actually 100% accurate. So if you have not given a price increase and are interested in doing so and you're absolutely terrified, please look for the price increase template located right in the guides. Do a couple of them at a time. If you're still out there cleaning yourself, hand them to your clients and say, just to let you know, I'm going to have to give you a price increase. I recommend at least a 10% price increase. Obviously, if you jump too high in one jump, it's going to be too much for them and they are going to jump. But that way, if you actually do a couple of them at a time, you will not be without income. So I guess I'm still losing a little bit of my voice. So here, let me fix this. Sometimes it will let me switch everything around, and sometimes it will not. It is here, right? Nope. Let's see if it'll switch the... I don't want a mask. I don't want a frame. Oh, I want tools. Okay, here we go. Perfect. All right, so that way you can read my board, right? So if you haven't given a price increase and you're absolutely afraid, just do a couple of them at a time at least until you go through however many clients you have. So if you have 40 of them and you do 2 a week, it'll take you to the end of the year to get to where you need to be. And then you have to start the process all over again because you should have given already an annual price increase, which would have been in a normal circumstance, which we have not seen in 2 years, would be 5 to 7%. So if you are not sure how to do that, or you just don't feel comfortable, you need some hand holding, please reach out. I have no problem helping with that. Second of all, my calendar is full. So what that means is if I say I can do your 7-minute Q&A session when I do this for free typically. If I'm saying I have this spot available and then you say yes and then you say no, I can't do it, I can do it later in the day, I don't have another opportunity to go back and accommodate you. I'm really sorry, but there's only one of me. There's one of me and 2 VAs, right? So you need to be able to jump on it, and if you can't, then you have to wait for the next available spot. I can't fit you back in. I have 2 littles just like everybody else, and I have a husband, and you know, there's other things that are going on behind the scenes that you guys don't see, just like my office, right? You can see I've got all these books, I got cleaning books, I got all kinds of things back here. So that's really important that you take advantage of that opportunity. The guides are located at the very top of the Facebook page. I highly recommend that you go through them before you actually ask a question inside of the group. I will naturally push you in that direction, and the reason for that is because that information is there. All you have to do is look for it. It's like when you go up to the librarian and you're looking for a book and they do the whole Dewey Decimal thing and you're just like, I just want to find the book, right? And I get that. But on the same level, you know, with the 3 of us, we get asked the same question 500 times every day. So you just get to that threshold where you're like, okay, you guys need to start looking. And if you look and you honestly look and say, I've looked in the guides, I can't find it, can you please answer? And then I'll be like, oh, sure, no problem. And then we'll try to look for it for you, and then we'll try to get your question answered. That's the whole point of having this group. So calendar system, and there was one other thing. Oh, yes, the YouTube channel. So if you are not familiar with my YouTube channel, it is announced when we welcome you into the group. There are over 70 videos full of information, all for this niche, right? So you don't want to miss out on any of those opportunities. A lot of times it's the lives that are from this group that get moved over and housed into YouTube. They only stay up on Facebook for 30 days. and then they're gone. And then sometimes I'll do a live, like a lunch and learn, right? And those only stay up for a short amount of time, sometimes just the weekend. And then after that, they get upcycled and then they get repurposed. And then I sell them back to you guys for the people who missed it, right? So those are important to especially catch those dates. I haven't had a chance to catch up to the calendar and put figurative items that I'm going to be discussing. I've been giving that a lot of thought. I do have the Cleaning Tech Bootcamp. We did our first one today. Yay! It was actually fun and exciting to actually go back out and clean. I hadn't had a chance to do that in a very long time. So it was awesome to be able to go through all of the motions and get that person who actually manages 15. She works for a large facility here in town, and she was looking for ways to streamline her crew and make a happy medium for her her tenants. So, excuse me. So it was exciting to be able to work with her today. And I want to talk about KPIs. There is a lot of things being thrown around in the industry. You know, some of the big, I consider the other guys big boys. I'm not a big boy yet. Probably maybe next year I'll be a big boy or a big girl, right? But KPIs are key performance indicators, and I don't know if you can see very well. My littles were in here. Let's see if I can find a Sharpie that is dark in color. And so key, this isn't helping either. Performance indicator. So KPIs, this is actually a dead pen. KPIs are, it's been a term that's been thrown around for about the last 5 or 6 years. I don't typically use this language most of the time. I'm here to teach you the very basics of what you're doing in your cleaning business, and then as you graduate and take each program with me, then we have more advanced terms and usefulness for what is going on in your business. But typically it's oh my goodness, typically it's the quality of service. So number one usually is the quality of service, and that's pretty easy, right? If it's just you that's cleaning, you can usually give 1,000% satisfaction rate, right? But when you start to have crews, you have to kind of watch the quality of satisfaction or the quality of your service, right? Sorry. Always. I'm doing the live. How can I help you? Okay. You're gonna have to wait, honey. I'm sorry. Always 7-year-olds. Always in the middle of life. It's that or the dogs or the birds. So quality of service is actually a key performance indicator, and I like to call them items. But so the result, so you would actually make sure if you had a large crew going out, there would be audits that were done periodically. So when you're doing 50 homes or 60 homes in a day, some of you guys are doing, I have a couple people in the group who are doing 2.5 million or 3 million. You guys are doing way more than 50 homes in a day. You're probably doing about 75 or 100 homes every day, I would imagine. So you have to make sure that you have audits in place to conduct and determine if a specific department or location needs improvement. So you would have a whole list of point A, this is where the quality of service starts, this is where the contact form, you know, and then at the end of the cleaning, then you would have another thing, and then your digital calendar system, you would close the job and it would send it over a quality control, like checklist, how was our cleaning? Or if you're still doing it old school and you don't have a digital calendar system, you would do it by hand, and you would actually call. That's what I used to do in the old days, right? We would call once and then we would call twice, and that way it covered us. So it's mandatory, for example, with one-time cleanings, that you have a proxy if someone's going to walk through. So that way you're covered yourself, right? So they initial on the piece of paper. It says, everything's clean to my satisfaction, and they initial. That way if you have Steve's wife calling back and going, oh my God, this cleaning is just awful. I can't believe that we had to pay you $700 for it. And you're like, but your husband Steve signed off on it, see? Or they sign off on it and you don't hear anything for days and days and days, and they go, oh my God, I don't want to pay the $700 and I don't think the cleaning was up to par. And you can say, well, I called you twice and I got to sign off right here. So that's important. And it's also important to measure what the quality of the complaint is, because sometimes we just get people who are just not nice. And don't want to pay. So we have become a society that's every man for themselves, right? And then you conduct more audits in your quality of service to determine if a specific service, i.e. dusting, needs improvement. So every faucet of every house cleaning has certain points of interest, right? So for example, it would be dusting, and then it might be mopping, right? So we have dusting, and dusting is like twofold, right? It could be feather duster. It could be a high duster, right? It could be that you don't feather dust or high dust and you only take your wet microfiber and you wipe that way, like with Norix, right? So you could do a microfiber, and that could be a different type of dusting. So that's how you would audit your service to determine if a specific service needs to be improved. And then you would follow up with your employees to make sure that they're following the protocol. And I recommend, if you have a large crew, that you do quarterly trainings, because we forget, right? Shannon's not on top of me to remind me that I need to go left to right instead of right to left. Shannon's not there to tell me about this or that, or maybe I forget that I have to tap the feather duster on my foot instead of like waving it around in the sky, And then you would also do an audit conducted to determine if a specific individual or team is performing up to standards. So then you would have key points to then, right? So a lot of that would be, let's take Susan. So an attendance. You can't have anyone perform well if they're not showing up to the job, right? So attendance would be one. If they're W-2s, are they in uniform? Is their cleaning kit clean, right? Are they on the phone the entire time that they are inside the client's house? Phone usage. Do they have the proper understanding of the tools that are necessary to clean, right? Are they following disinfecting standards, right? We do have a huge new appreciation for cross-contamination, especially against infectious diseases, right? So there's tools, and then cross-contamination, disinfecting, and then the final walkthrough, being able to have the eyes that are wide open so you can see if you've missed something. Like, for example, dust in the corners, right? No one likes the big dust bunnies. Or did they get underneath the bed? 9 times out of 10, someone has their house clean and they don't have anything underneath their bed. They want the bed vacuumed and mopped under there, right? That usually calls hands and knees. Under bed. So these would be all items that you would audit when you gave a review. So there are actually 5 key performance indicators, or I think there's 7. But these are the top 5 that I can remember off the top of my head. I had to print it off my computer. Number two KPI would be client satisfaction responsiveness. So basically, if you have a client who gives you a 5-star review, that means they're satisfied, right? If you have a client who gives you a seething 1-star review and slams you all over social media, then you need to get them on the phone as soon as possible and address whatever the issue is. And sometimes those people are just not responsive, or they want to do it because they want a discount because they decided they didn't want to pay whatever it was you're charging them. It's a double-edged sword. So you have to make sure you're monitoring the complaints, you're monitoring your compliments. Hopefully your compliments exceed your complaints. Monitoring special requests. You guys all know how I want to charge top dollar for everything that we do, and I've kind of laid out what some of those extra add-ons are. For example, windows are usually $5 to $10 a window if they're small to medium, and if they open to close, it counts as 2 windows, right? Large windows could be anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks. It just depends on the size and the tool that are needed. Maybe it's a second level and you want to get up on the ladder and you have to move your tool over. I mean, it could be more than $40. If you have a special, 40 by 40 window, that's going to be, a $300 or $400 deal. And then you want to, another key performance indicator would be obviously your team. I think your team actually should be labeled as number 1 instead of number 3. But, I just have a different mentality when it comes to cleaning techs, because those are the ones who actually make your money, right? It's not the customers make you money, but it's actually the cleaning techs and their satisfaction in your business and what kind of company culture you have and what you're paying, right? So determining employee productivity by measuring how many square feet are cleaned per hour divided by the number of direct hour laborers taken to clean them. We talk about productivity rates all the time. You can go right to my YouTube channel and talk about it, and we go over it specifically, especially for example, what comes to top of my move-out cleanings. Move-out cleanings are typically 300 to 400 square feet per hour. If you're more seasoned. If you're brand new, it might be actually lower than that. It could be 100 to 200 square feet per hour. I've done over 6,000 of them, so I kind of know what the productivity is for that. Safety would be another protocol that you would want to manage. Monitoring the accidents. For example, we only let people go up on a 4-foot ladder. Anything that exceeds a 4-foot ladder is not doable, just because we don't want to have a workman's comp claim. And that way, and not everyone's comfortable with a ladder, so you need to make sure that there's ladder safety. And then there's some jobs that actually require a 12-foot ladder, so then you have to have a spotter, and the ladder has to be delivered and picked up, so that's an extra charge. I mean, there's all of this stuff that goes along with add-on stuff, right? I want those soffits vacuumed. Sure, no problem, but it's going to cost you an extra $1.50 to do that, because I have to have the ladder, set up and done. And then the person, if you're working in a team, has to come and spot you. I mean, there's all of this stuff that goes on. Then there's the financial aspect. You should know your numbers all the time. I preach it all the time. Knowing your numbers makes you be able to take advantage of opportunities that come your way, like a great marketing project, right? Can't take advantage of a great marketing project if you don't know what your numbers are, because you don't know how much you're supposed to spend, because it's based on your financial gross, right? So, and it talks about equipment, chemical, consumables, labor, actual costs, and that type of stuff. So those are just some basic KPIs. I want to talk a little bit that was brought to my attention while I have you, and it's how to. I'm going to take a sip of water. It's occasionally you get, and you guys are hearing me talk about this all the time. Occasionally, when you're new with a client, we all know this is crooked. It looks like. Hopefully that straightens it out. We'll see. Or maybe it's just lopsided all together. Anyway, when you take on a new client, it takes them 5 to 7 visits before they actually feel comfortable with you to even refer you or think about that. And you're establishing the relationship. They want to see, if you're going to steal something. I hear it all the time. I've seen it. I've actually seen a cleaner take someone's diamond ring off the counter with the homeowner sitting right there. Not my company. I was doing a training session with someone else's cleaning company, and it was right there. So it happens. And then I had heard about it from another person who had something similar happen to them with the same situation. So it takes 5 to 7 visits before someone actually feels comfortable enough to recommend you or your business. That's why the KPIs are really important. But occasionally you will have someone who tests, right? We always, I have a sibling, well, he's no longer alive, but I did have a sibling, and when we were younger, he used to test me all the time. He knew exactly what buttons to push. Occasionally you take on a client like this, and if you don't set up clear boundaries on what those parameters are, they're going to walk all over you. And it's because they don't have any boundaries with not just you, but with everybody. So, for example, dishes come up a lot, and we will do your dishes, but we will charge you for them. So it's $35 per incident. And when you charge $10 per incident, they don't care. It's not enough money for them to go, oh, $35 seems to be oh my gosh, she's going to charge me $35 to wash my dishes. I better get them out of the sink so they can fill up their mop bucket, right? Same thing with commercial. We charge on a per incident basis. It's $35. So that way the whole office isn't waiting around for the cleaner to come in and do 52 mugs and 42 plates and 52 pieces of silverware. And that way you're spending your time actually cleaning instead of doing someone else's mess because they were all too lazy to do it because the cleaner's coming, right? So you have to set clear boundaries with your customer. And if you don't take control of that immediately, in a polite manner, of course, they're going to walk all over you. And then they're going to argue with you and then want to justify what they're paying in their mind to you. And it's not really fair because you guys agreed on a price for doing a certain kind of work or a certain kind of job, right? Because I'm teaching you guys all to bid flat rate. I want to see everyone make $100,000 in their first year. So the only way to do that is to charge flat rate. So say, for example, you take on a small home and you charge them $110. So that's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, right? Hi, I don't know who's there. And you agree that you're going to clean this whole house and you're going to make the bed, but you're not going to do a sheet change. And then that's the agreement for the $110. It's part carpet, part floor. You can do it in about an hour and 15 minutes. Well, you walk in and there's a big note that says, please change sheets. Well, I have no problem with the people changing sheets, but I'm going to charge you for it $25. And the reason for it is because it takes more time. I've only allotted so much time for the house. It's an hour and 15 minutes. Changing the bed, depending on how many pillows you have, can be a whole 20-minute ordeal, depending on if, you know, and we're not hunting for those sheets. So the sheets need to be sitting on the bed ready to go. Or let's say you walk in the next time because in their mind, they're paying you this exorbitant amount when in actuality it's not. You're giving them a really sweet deal. And you can't fill up in the tub because there's all these kid toys, and you can't fill up your bucket in the sink because they left you 2 loads of dishes. Well, I don't have a problem doing that, but we're going to charge you $35 a load to do the dishes because it takes more time. And then if you have a house that's scheduled right after, it pushes your schedule out. So it's not fair to the other people who are waiting in line to have their house cleaned. And I often refer back to the video, how much is each spot on your schedule worth? Each spot on my schedule is worth $350. So if you screw that up, I'm technically going to think in my mind that you owe me $350. And it's not because I want to stick it to you. It's because that's what each spot on my schedule is potentially worth. And if I'm not making my 110 and I'm making now 45 because I had to spend 2 hours or 2.5 hours there, that throws everything off because I still have commute time and I'm trying to get to my second job, right? This is all hypothetical. If you were still out cleaning in yourself, you guys are relating to me, right? So then you arrive at house number 2, and house number 2 has 2 more loads of dishes. And so then you should be paid for that because it's going to take 40 minutes to figure out where all the dishes go, get everything all clean, you have to dry them, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the third house, and they have 2 loads of dishes. So that's $70, $70, and $70. That's $210 that should have been added to your day on top of the cleaning fee. So if you charged $110, so that's $330 plus $210. So that's almost a $600 day just by charging for the extras. And I'm not saying that you can't give Miss Mary, who's 97 years old, a little bit of free extra care because you really like Mary and she tells you great, fantastic stories because she's almost 100 years old. I've had a Mary and I loved her and I was really sad when she passed away. But those are things that you choose to do. So what I'm trying to tell you from the bottom of my heart is don't let your clients take charge. You need to take charge of them. And it may seem like you are being a bully to them, but you're not. You're just setting really clear boundaries because people will overstep, especially with cleaners. And most of us are women. There are some guys here too, but we are groomed and conditioned to want to people please. It's just a natural thing with being a woman. We rear children and give birth to children and care for our families and all that stuff. So it's natural for us to want to compensate for that by overcompensating and giving them free stuff. So make sure you're charging for the extras. It's at least $100 extra starting price for baseboards. We all know that baseboards can't be done with a tool. It all has to be done on hands and knees and a bucket of water. Sorry, that's worth at least $100 to me, right? And so those are things that you can learn to use to add on. Oh, hey, can you clean those 3 windows? Sure, no problem. They're $10 each. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6. $60. I'll be adding it on. Or sometimes you'll come across someone who wants to trade out a room. And we all know that adding a second bathroom that has been used by their grandchildren for 6 weeks is not the same amount of time as a bedroom, right? So it has to be an even trade or you're going to have to charge them extra. When you agree for a flat rate price, you're agreeing to do certain things for a certain amount of time at a flat rate price. When it goes over that, you need to charge for it. Don't let people take advantage of you, unless you want to. I've walked in, like I said, I've been part of Cleaning for a Reason for a long time, and there were many times where we walked in and I'm like, oh, you need more than this. We have to give you. And there was a couple of people who I gave several cleanings to just to get them caught up because they needed it, and I didn't want them living in those conditions. That's up to you. That comes from your heart, right? So that's what I have to say about that. When you have a client who is difficult, you need to categorize them, in your little category, and decide whether you're going to continue on with them or if you're going to part ways. If they're too difficult and you're not making enough money, it's time to say bye-bye, right? Anyway, that's all I have to say today. I hope that you guys have a fabulous weekend, and I look forward to your questions. Take care.